welcome to Minority Caucus this Wednesday evening. Tonight, a very special guest, and he's here to talk about an issue which is not just Minority Caucus based, but of national import. After serious public advocacy by some civil society organizations and of course some political parties, the EC accepted to run a biometric register. Now, having accepted to do that, the very civil society organizations which advocated it in the first place are worried about the processes towards adoption and implementation of that register. Let's remind ourselves, elections in Ghana over the years have been improved by the parties themselves engaging the EC through IPAC as well as civil society organizations. So we moved in 1992 from separate day voting for presidential and parliamentary to single day voting for both. We moved to the transparent ballot box, we moved to the photo ID, and probably most significantly, we moved to the point where results were declared at polling station level, virtually eliminating any doubt, because anybody who was interested could collate the results right there and then and compare to the officially declared results. So whereas we've put the actual results declared almost beyond doubt, we still have difficulties with voter identification. That is pre-voting. Who gets onto the register and who gets to vote, and whether or not they can vote many times, or whether or not somebody else can use somebody else's face or name or otherwise to vote. And that is where advocates believe the biometric register could help us. But indeed, are we on safe ground? Or, given where we stand now, are we on the slippery slope to rolling back the reforms we've all fought for? Tonight with me to discuss these very important national issues is Jake Utanka Obechebi Lamti, NPP National Chairman. Mr. Chairman,
yeah.
It's a privilege.
Well, for me, it's a great privilege. Thank you very much for having me. I'm delighted to be here with you.
How is the NPP hot seat? All these people have something to say.
It's warm. It's warm, and I'm sure it'll get warmer. But at the end of the day, you feel, we're doing an important job, and that's very gratifying. You get a lot of support, and you need to have the rough with the smooth. Otherwise, you'll never appreciate the smooth if you don't have the rough. Okay. So, we welcome the challenges.
Okay. Reflect, rebuild, recapture. How far down the road?
Inshallah, we have reflected, and we came out with a new pathway. Okay, we've implemented that pathway. We have now, as you know, we've been able to, over a year before, almost 18 months before, we have been able to get our flag bearer chosen and in place. Out of 230 constituencies, we have now selected our candidates for 222, two of them, and they're working. Just today, the National Council took a decision on the CAUCUS South matter, so that's moving forward. This weekend there'll be primaries in 2 more constituencies, which will leave us with 3 independent constituencies and a couple of others. So 5 constituencies after this weekend, which is, I think it's good progress, and now our people have to really get out there and work, not take this thing for granted, not just assume that because the Nils Mahama NDC government is so lost and so directionless, so visionless, that means automatically we're going to be elected. No, you've still got to go out there, persuade the people, talk to them, and explain to them why you are going to be better. And this is what we're going to be working on now.
That's part of the process. The question of who gets to vote comes up.
That's part of the whole process. I mean, your introduction was excellent. I mean, I think at the end of the day, what we all want to do is have a very peaceful country. The country comes closest to tension and to violence during the period of an election. So what we need to do is to all of us put in place those things that need to be done to make sure that we reduce that tension. The first thing is to make sure that we get an election that is free, fair, and transparent. Every Ghanaian who is entitled to vote is given the opportunity to vote only once, to have that vote counted properly, to declare properly, and at the end of the election, everybody accepts the announcement that comes out as being a true reflection of the choice of the people. That's why we have moved as you said, the transparent boxes, the ID and so on, the photo ID. And now the biometric register was going to be another major step in the right direction. They've been complaining about a register that is bloated. That we're talking about a nation of at that time 22 million, 11 million registered voters. It's not possible, since the numbers of people who can be above the age of 18 are less than 50%. After the last election, even till today, you've still got both parties talking about multiple voting and other occurrences that happened within the country. How do we eliminate this sort of thing? We must have a credible register, and a biometric register is a way of getting a really credible register. Okay, because the biometric, just to explain it, I mean,
yes, please.
People go along we're now in the era of biometric passports. We're now in the era of a biometric national identification card. So it's not something that is totally unknown in this country. All it means is that when you go to register, they will take your 10 fingerprints, and then they'll take a photograph of you and then put that on your ID card. When you come back to vote, you put your ID card into the machine, okay, which will authenticate whether or not that person is you. So when the card goes in, it looks at you, you put your fingers back on the thing again, it takes a photograph of you and says, yes, this is the person, the fingerprints match the one that we have on file, and therefore this person is allowed to vote. It's actually not that complicated. But it only works if you are able to do it properly and have a central database where they can make sure that you have not registered twice. Because when you go and register at polling station A and put your fingerprints there, all that data is sent back to the center. When you then try and register at polling station B, and all that information is sent back to the central register, then the central register will say, hey, this man has already registered at polling station A, therefore throw it out.
Even if the name is different?
Even if the name is different.
So it doesn't depend on the name?
It doesn't depend on the name. It looks at your biometrics, which are your fingerprints and also your picture.
Okay.
So that we can then turn around and eliminate multiple registration. Okay. And then it works at eliminating multiple voting at the point of voting when you have the authentication in place there. So at the end of the day, everybody who's entitled to vote, go register once. You know, in Jamaica they introduced it, and what they did was that if you attempted to register twice, and the machine threw you up and said you have double registered, they asked you then to go to a police station to go and sort out the matter about why the machine should be saying you registered twice. And when you arrived at the police station, you were arrested and then charged with attempting to
deceit the
system. And then once that happened, of course, you'll be sentenced to prison or whatever. So it's reduced the number of people who tried to double register. And then also at the end of the day, it also reduces the number of people who try to do the double voting. Because people will still try.
Yes.
But at least when the machine will then throw out and say, no, you voted already, or you're not entitled to vote. And then we can, it eliminates all of these things, and therefore makes the whole system much more smooth. And the authentication machine can actually will also turn around when it says that you have come, Yao has come, yes, Yao is allowed to vote, Kofi is allowed to vote. At the end of the voting process, it will show you the numbers of people who have been authorized to vote at that polling station.
Okay.
Then when you empty the ballot box and take all the votes out. You count the number of votes inside that box. If it is more than the machine says have been allowed to vote, then you know there's a problem. That somebody has been putting ballot papers inside the box. But if it says that 300 people came here to vote and were allowed to vote, 300 ballot papers inside, now we go ahead and we count it and when we declare those results.
Mr. Chairman, two issues there. One is that we understand that the verification is not an automatic add-on to the register. And two is that apparently it does not distinguish the voting age, and that minors can register.
Minors can register, okay? And to stop minors registering, the parties will have to have their agents at the registration to be able to point out that, to challenge people and say this person is not old enough to say that he or she is 18. So that has to happen. But I mean, somebody who's 16 goes, puts their fingerprints, have their photograph taken. The fingerprints don't say you are 16 or 15. It just shows that they are your fingerprints. So minors can register. Non-Ghanaians can register. Okay, but they can only register once. Everyone can only register once. So even if that occurs, it will lower the incidence of it. Okay. Now, also yes, the authentication is not. It's an additional process. But at the end of the day, why do we want this? We want this system to be able to reduce tension in our society, to help us to maintain the peace and quiet of Ghana, and be able to get over an election process. So the whole of Ghana doesn't have to stop because there's an election. We don't all have to hold our breath. People don't have to leave because they think that something awful is going to happen after this election. Those African countries which went for a biometric register without authentication, in at least 4 of them, their elections have been followed by chaos and violence.
That's an important point on which I'll take the first break, Chairman. Because if we've had 4 countries where there's been violence and disputes in spite of a biometric register, then I think that's one case can be made for adding on a verification process. Most importantly, Mr. Jake Obechebi Otanka Lamte is telling us that the country does not have to stop because there is an election. And the only way to guarantee that is to have a system that runs the full cycle. We'll take our first break. Welcome back to Minority Caucus this Wednesday night. We have the privilege of the national chairman of the New Patriotic Party in studio with us. And he's discussing no less a matter than the biometric register proposed to be part of next presidential and parliamentary elections. Now, he's made 2 very important points. It's clear that yes, minors may get onto the register. Yes, non-Ghanaians in quotes may get onto the register. But if the parties are vigilant, we will reduce drastically deliberate attempts to bloat the register. However, we have an issue with verification. The chairman has raised a question about other countries which have deployed without verification, and we'll take off from there. Meanwhile, you can join us 1760, text 1760, and facebook.com/multitv world. It's a very important national discussion that we're having with Jake. So, Mr. Chairman.
Let me just quickly put that one. Kenya, with a biometric system, had problems after its last general election. Tragic problems.
Yes.
They learned from what happened. So what did they do? They had a by-election recently where they learned from their lessons and they put the authentication or verification in place.
Oh, okay.
So they went through the thing and they were able to get through and everything worked extremely smoothly. Okay, so they have learned from the hard way that it works better, and when it works properly, it's only really worthwhile if you put in this authentication and verification system. The system of the biometric register itself is going to cost somewhere, we're told, between 40 to 60, 70 million dollars. And the verification would cost about another $15 million. Really and truly, $15 million on top of what you're spending already to make sure that the thing works properly and you get what it is that you want from it, which is an election that is accepted by everybody, is a small price to pay. No? So let's not, for the sake of saying that, a few pence will be saved, put all the monies that otherwise are being spent at risk. And let's not put the nation at risk, because if we should end up with an election, I pray God it never happens, an election that is disputed in the way that other African countries have disputed elections, will cost a lot more than $15 million to recover. And we shouldn't turn around and say it can never happen in Ghana, because our neighbors, Côte d'Ivoire, they are basically our people. They're the same peoples, ethnically as we are. Yeah. And they went down that route, and we also are sitting here witnesses to the suffering that went on in that country. We don't need it. Let's just find the extra money. The time is not a problem. We can put this thing in place and do it properly, and then have everybody accept it. And
so between now and the election, you believe there is adequate time for the EC to put the structures in place? Assuming there is.
Well, Kenya again recently, just last week, as part of the updating of the whole system, have decided again that they're going to do a complete system in place this time. They had almost like a trade fair, where all those companies that were interested in partnering the Kenyan Electoral Commission came there and did an exhibition. I think some 43 companies were there. We had our former chairman, Mr. Mark Mainu, go there and have a look at all the systems that were in place and talk to the different companies. He went around the different companies and gave them a thing. In a country like Ghana, with some 24 million, a population of 24 million, and a voters register that could be approximately, let's say, 10 to 11 million voters. Yeah. How much time would it need to put in place a proper system, including the verification? The longest time that any of the companies that he talked to gave him was 4 months.
4 months.
4 months. Nigeria, we are told, was able to have people conduct a register of 70 million voters within 2 weeks.
2 weeks?
That's what we are told. Okay, so the register itself. So if you have enough equipment and you go out enough, that does not take a lot of time, and the rest of it can be done. The cleaning up can be done if you have the proper systems in place.
Then what do we have issues with the EC for in terms of time? Because it appears that there was this business about the tender processes. It's been to court. I think the High Court has been compelled to.
I think one of the companies took the procurement process to court, so that the way they were eliminated was not legal. But that's a matter between the companies and the Electoral Commission. We don't get into the procurement process. What we do want to say and consult the political parties on is what is it that they are coming to bring? What is it that you are procuring, and how is that system going to work? The Electoral Commission, in its wisdom, felt that they didn't have enough money to be able to get the data collection done across the country at the same time, simultaneously, because it would be too expensive. But what are we talking about? We're talking about small laptops which do not have to do very much else, so that the actual drives and things in there are fairly basic. The laptop today is, how much is a laptop being produced for? Yeah. I think they're giving 15,000 laptops to various schools and things like that. Yes, okay. So I mean, laptops, we don't see that laptops, are that expensive. Yeah. So we do have the capacity. If you buy enough of these laptops, which is the basic unit for doing the registration, then plus the camera and plus the fingerprint system, to deploy to all the polling stations simultaneously.
So per machine per polling station?
Every machine per polling station. And it will not cost a huge amount of money compared to the cost that you are talking about anyway, because they have not actually given Parliament a complete costing yet, because they have not had the quotations from the companies producing it. Doing that also limits the amount of tension that you're raising. The Electoral Commission is turning around and saying that they're going to limit the numbers of laptops they bring in. Okay, initially they were 25,200. Now, from somewhere they have now decided 6,200, but still not enough to do it simultaneously across the country. Therefore, because they're now limited, they have limited themselves to what they can do. They want to go 2 regions at a time. You can do it what they're calling tot by tot. You know that there will be tension from that. Because people, parties will be very upset about whether their region, where they are strong, is done early or is done late. Again, you can lose. If it's done early, some people will say you're doing our strongholds early so that you can do the other strongholds later and they can increase the numbers. And people can move from place to place, okay, because of other failures within your system. Or if you say that we're going to do it late, they can turn around and say that if you look at the national identification system, we are told that by the end of the or towards the latter part of the process, they had equipment failure. Okay, because the equipment had been used again, moving around and around and around. So you're suddenly coming to our region at the end, you're getting some equipment failure, and then there is not enough time to do it, and that's why they're now stretching the capture of the data to be over a period of about 4 months. There is no need to do that. There's also no need to limit the numbers of machines to be used in the capture of the data, because again, this again, we have to talk to the suppliers to talk about, there is a belief out there that they can only process about 100 persons per day.
That is minimal.
Now, if they can only do 100 persons per day, and there are some polling stations where there are 3,000 or 2,000 registered voters, and we are only going to be doing this registration over 10 days, it means that hundreds, possibly thousands of people will be disenfranchised because they will not be able to register. Plus also, even the thing about doing 100 a day means that there's going to be a lot of cajoling by the political parties to get their people to go and register, because you could turn up on Monday and find that the queue is so long that it will never get to you. You go on Tuesday and the queue is still going to be too long. You go on Wednesday, then you say, oh, I'll wait. And you finally go the last day or the second to last day, and you find that others have also come to wait for that time. So there's a lot of things to be worked out. The more area, the easier we make it to do the registration, the better. In Nigeria, I believe they limited the numbers of people per polling station to some 500. In Cote d'Ivoire, 400. We also have to put a cap on the numbers of people who can vote at a particular polling station. In 2008, there were some places where when you went to vote, the line was so long.
I stayed in my queue for 7 hours.
You did it.
7 hours.
But I'm sure there were people
who came there
and then went away.
No, let me go have my lunch. Oh no, this is
disenfranchised.
Yes.
We don't need to get that. We can start to get these things sorted out and get them right if we use this opportunity properly. This is all we're saying. And it's not just us who are saying it. The PNC have also said it. The NDC have also said it. So it's not the NPP being too known. It is NPP, voicing out a concern that others have also raised. PNC have also voiced out their concern.
What is it that is to do with IPAC that the EC appears not ready to convene an IPAC? You've written so many letters.
I have no idea, because they've never responded to the letters. I have no reply to our letter saying let's have an IPAC meeting. Let's have an IPAC meeting. Convene. The first we went there to ask, and they said, "Oh, the room where IPAC used to meet was burned down in the fire. But when they've redone it, then IPAC can meet again." And that will be in a few. Then now it's been redone, but there's still no IPAC. I don't know whether the commission feels that there's some stress in meeting the people with whom it is working, its partners in this enterprise, and therefore feels that because the Constitution has said that they are independent, talking to anybody infringes on that independence. It cannot be. Even if you are independent, they're doing it independent of undue influence. Okay, but talking to the people whom you are supposed to be working with, who in fact you are supposed to be serving, to make sure that they can go through the election process properly, I would have thought it's a very sensible way to get things done.
Let's take these messages that have come in. Yeah, when will we start seeing our former ministers? By that I assume you mean former MPP government ministers. We know the MPP did great work in the 8-year era, but it seems there are some which we don't know. So I'll advise you to start bringing them, including Atta-adoosi, who was a foreign minister. We love you, Jake, from Dixon Desiree in Laura. Yeah, good job. I'm very happy for the education. But Mr. Jake, do you think Ghana is ready for that system without proper education in our villages? That is from Nana. He's worried about whether the villages will appreciate it. Mutaru, Jake, congrats and thanks for helping to educate the Ghanaian populace on this biometric registration. We just realized that the NDC people are frustrated by this no turning back move to eliminate the ungodly bloating and triple voting of unpatriotic people. We will get the right president come 2012 when Nana gets the nod of the people, NPP all the way. And Barney says, Mr. Jake, I love you. Wow. And this one says, the EC must redeem its image as a neutral empire in the nation's electoral processes. The EC must ensure all stakeholders of the elections are satisfied with the biometric processes to avoid plunging this country into chaos and mayhem. It is sickening that the NDC doesn't seem to be worried about the concerns of the other parties. The defensive posture adopted by the NDC raises eyebrows. Since when did the NDC assume the role of spokespersons for the EC? That's anonymous. I'm very glad that Jake has decided to educate us on the biometric registration process. This will help put things in order. Ayiko, and this is from Indede. We'll take our second break. Welcome back. What we should realize as a nation is that the reforms we've had over the years were not given on a silver platter. The parties had to fight to institute those reforms. We remember the picture ID, for example. At some stage, some had colored IDs and some had black and white IDs. And then one party even said that they had 2 million votes that they needed to provide IDs for at some stage. So, but the important thing is that IPAC, which is the Inter-Party Advisory Committee, an informal grouping, working hand in hand with the EC, was able to dialogue these processes and arrive at compromises that have enabled all parties to feel reasonably comfortable. Not 100%, but reasonably comfortable. So the question now is, why is IPAC not being convened? Why is the EC not engaging the parties constructively? Jake, you must have concerns.
We do. In fact, we continue to have the concerns. That's why some months ago we wrote to say that IPAC has not met for these 2 years or more. Okay. Can we please have an IPAC meeting? Can EC convene? Because EC are the conveners. Okay. And I told you that it said there was something about, but we had no official reply to that letter. We wrote again, we had no official reply. We've never had a reply to any letter that we have written to the EC. That's a matter of concern. I mean, just general good manners would have dictated that somebody writes to you who is entitled to write to you. You will at least write to say, I have received your letter, it is receiving attention. And sometime later, we've received your letter, we're not going to do anything about it, or we're going to do this, or we're doing that, or bear with us, such and such as a situation. We've never had that. This particular time, we've written again to the EC, and when we write, we copy all the parties, because we're not trying to do anything that is a purely MPP stance. Because it's not just for MPP if the elections are free and fair and transparent. We believe it's for everybody's benefit, and every party has spoken out in favor of it. As I said before, the NDC also came out to say that they wanted to see a biometric register in place, that they want to see a cleaner process going on. So let's sit down. What can we do? We can't bite anybody. All we can do is to come out and say that these are our concerns. How is your system going to meet our concerns? We are concerned about making sure that nobody is disenfranchised by the system that you're saying about doing it tot by tot. And also we think that it will raise tension if you do it by that tot by tot method. Why can we not have the option of doing it in the same way when we're doing the manual one? All the polling stations open at the same time. Everybody goes and registers, during the 10-day registration period. Why can we not do that? Why do we have to go back to, because we're saying we're going to use a new technology, therefore bring that technology that takes us back into the dark ages of allowing people. We don't need it. No?
You cannot compel them.
We cannot compel them, no.
So what's the way forward?
But
in the event the EC decides, well, you go ahead.
But the EC is not independent, but is not a power completely unto itself. It works in the interest of the people of Ghana. So if the people of Ghana start to realize that what we are saying and what the other political parties are saying with us has sense in it, then the people of Ghana can tell the EC, please, you are there to serve Ghana. You are not there to serve yourselves. You're not there to serve your egos. Come and let's see that, make sure that what has to happen properly happens properly. You cannot use your independence to bring this country to a state of chaos. That's not why you were given that independence. And I don't think that will happen, because subsequent to the letter going in, Dr. Kanga, the deputy chairman, asked that I meet with him. At the time he wasn't available, so in fact I had one of my senior members meet with him, who's on our Electoral Affairs Committee, Honorable Obi Amwa. He was well received. He was told that yes, there are things within the letter that we have written that are germane to the issue, and that the chairman of the commission will be coming back today, and that when he comes back, then there will be a formal reaction to our letter. I don't think that EC can continue forever to say they're not going to meet IPAC. I don't think the civil society will allow that to happen. Even if the political parties don't have the power to insist, to say, and the EC says they are independent, I think the people of Ghana will tell the EC that no, you meet the political parties, because they, after all, are the ones who are going to be contesting. And it's right and proper that the referee calls the captains of the two teams and says, this is how we're going to referee this game. Make sure that your people don't break the laws of the game. And when somebody is misbehaving, they'll call the captain and say, this your player is misbehaving, bring him or her to order, otherwise I'll show them the yellow card or the red card. In any situation where you have a referee like that, the referee will make sure that he or she has some rapport with the people who are involved in the contest, and the EC has to do the same thing with the political parties.
I want to say that the point must be made, though, that I believe you don't have personality issues with the EC. It's just the institutional processes. Because the point has been made, when we are in government, we are lovey-dovey with the EC. When you are out of government, suddenly the EC is your bête noire. So
we're not saying the EC is the bête noire. All we're saying is that the EC, please, this is your choice. We argued and we cajoled that a biometric register should be put in place, and that it should be one that was authenticated at the point of voting. The EC at the beginning refused to consider a biometric register, said Ghana was not ready for it. Now they've moved on to saying that they see merit in the biometric register. What we asked the EC to realize is that the political parties, I mean, I'm not an IT expert, but what I did was, when I got the EC the document from them about the tendering, what they wanted to be tendered, I called my committee and said, have a look at this and let's have a reaction to it. They brought in two experts, one in the States and one in Ghana, who had experience with biometrics, and said, go through this and come up with your comments and advice. And ultimately what happened was that the one from America and the one from Ghana, working separately, came up with basically the same comments. So they saw the same things. They may be right, they may be wrong. If they're wrong, let the EC address the issues and tell us why our experts are wrong. If they are right, then let the EC say, okay, they are right. We have made a genuine mistake because this is the first time we are trying it. We will amend the process and get it right.
Is there any real fallback position in the event we don't have a biometric register?
There's two fallback positions. The first one is that there's no reason why we shouldn't have a biometric register. There is enough time to put in place a proper biometric register. And I saw from the comment just then that some people were still concerned that they should be educated.
Yes.
It's when you use long words like biometric, then people start worrying about, hey, is this something, you know? But it's really very, very simple. There's no, I think most of our people know about fingerprints. Okay, they know that if you go and rob somebody and then you don't wear gloves and your fingerprints are found at the scene of the crime, the police can come and see it. And if they have your fingerprint somewhere else, they can match that. It is Kofi who committed this crime, and they come and arrest Kofi and they take it to court and say that your fingerprints were at the scene of the crime, you are the one who did it, so on. So it's basically the same thing. Things about you that are unique to you. Your fingerprints are unique to you. 7 billion people in this world, everybody has different fingerprints.
Interesting.
So bring your fingerprints. When they do it, then they can, and you've brought a matching set. Same thing now. People go to the American Embassy or the British High Commission now to go and get a visa. They went the last time with their biometric passport and they were refused. So they managed to go back and get somebody to give them a new passport with a new name. Okay, but then when they go, they put it on the scanner, the fingerprints come out, they say, please, here's your passport back.
You're the same person
who came last time you came, so and so. So it's a very simple process. We should not worry about it.
I mean, even there is the national ID.
It's national ID.
Same thing. Go put your fingerprint in there. So that's what is meant by biometric.
That is what is meant by biometric. You have bio measurements that they can use. You know, they can scan the color of your eyes. You know, they can your face. Okay, it goes into a face recognition thing that shows that these pictures are the same person because the distance from here to here is the same for both pictures and so on. Okay, so that's, people should not be worried. And this is where it's important to have the political parties involved, because we will go and explain to our people as we try to get them to go and register. We will explain to them what the process is about. We can take them through it while they do their registration. We will do it. Every political party will do it. That's how we'll get to make sure that the majority of our people go and register so that they have a vote when the election comes. Then the other bits are purely things to do with making sure that the system that you put in is worth the money that we're paying for it. There's no point Ghana paying $50 million for a new system that is no better than the old system. If it's no better than the old system, save the money
and go back to the old
system. So there's time for us to do a biometric register. We only need 2 weeks to be able to do a universal data capture, and then a few weeks after that to clean the data through a central database when they have that in place. If they will do the procurement process openly and properly and transparently, they can quickly get talk to the parties, agree everything that needs to be done, put it out there, shove it, offer it, let the companies come back and say how they will meet your things and how much it will cost. Have your experts sit down. The EC evaluation team did not include anybody who has had experience of biometrics. Why? This country, you have national identification. There's somebody there who has been working with biometrics. You have the passport office, somebody there has been working with biometrics. So let's get some people who know what they're doing to help you. Not we get them, you get them, to help you to assess the things, and then go ahead. By January, we can be in the field. By end of January or by latest first week of February, we finish the data capture. By April, you've got your provisional register out there for us all to check. By May, June, whatever it is, you've got your proper register all in place.
Wonderful.
Okay, the technology can move it fast. If you say that, no, you don't want to do it properly, then for goodness sake, let's go back. We've still got time, let's do the one we're used to, and then try and do it better.
Very well.
Because they've got the equipment for that.
Yes.
They've got the cameras, they've got the printers, they've got everything that they bought last time, used once, okay, can be used again.
Yes, but we can't disappoint ourselves as a nation. We've been there before, we've had these reforms before. So we pull together through IPAC and we can get this done. Now, these messages are saying the EC must ensure that all the political parties are satisfied with whatever they are doing or engage in. The legitimate concerns raised by the MPP must be looked at and addressed amicably. From Cisco. What measures have the EC put in place to ensure stakeholders in the elections are satisfied with the biometric electoral processes? How do they ensure the biometric doesn't end up tearing the nation apart? The NDC's resolution to defend the EC at all costs is worrisome. It lays credence on the suspicion that the NDC is in collusion with the EC to rig the election. That's Iliasu from Tamale. Biometric registration is good, but EC should ensure all the necessary framework is done. Simon from Walwale. No method used by the EC, the NDC will surely be shown the exit. That is Bante of Pasco, Kweu Asaka. What exactly is preventing the EC from calling for an IPAC meeting to discuss the biometric registration? Simon from Walwale. Mr. Boabing, the EC is trying to rally behind the NDC, but none of their deeds will work. Now, not all the way to victory 2012. Big Dreamer, that's from Techiman North. NDC party and its government are not to be trusted. The EC must be up and doing before anything bad happens. Nananye MPP from Bulga. The peace of this country come 2012 and beyond depends on this biometric registration. Simon from Walwale again. Jake and his MPP are so desperate to win power. Allow the EC to do its work. Come 2012, MPP will lose again. This is from Jimmy Bame in Techiman. The independence of the EC does not isolate it from the society for which it exists and in whose interest it works. Tonight, someone from Walwale has been very, very busy. We'll take our last break.
A lot does happen within 24 hours, and you can be part of the exciting team that unravels the events that happen within a day. So, you have a phone, a still camera, or even a camcorder. Capture those exciting, memorable, and intriguing events as and when they happen around you, and let's share them with millions across Africa and beyond. To contribute, log on to www.multitvworld.com/ureport or www.myjoyonline.com/ureport. Enter your details, click on the browse button to upload your file, enter the security code, and submit. You can email your materials to ureport@myjoyonline.com or drop a copy of your material on CD or tape at the offices of Multi TV opposite Joy FM, Akokumlemlem, or other multimedia networks, Joy FM, Adom FM, Inshra FM, Love FM, and Asempa FM, or call 030-7011-99709 or 030-2211-700. We will select and screen the most appropriate materials that meet our editorial policy. Listen, watch, and read as your story makes the headline. Only on the Joy News channel on Multi TV, Joy News Radio, and online, plus all other multimedia networks. You report the story from your perspective. Coming soon.
Welcome back. You can join us on the phone lines 0302-211-701-702, 0302-211-701 or 702. Now, let me ask my national chairman a very sensitive question. There's a gentleman who sent us a text, and he believes the MPP is so desperate for power that we just want to frustrate the EC and the NDC and all that and all that. Why don't we just wait for the EC to do whatever?
Well, this afternoon we met with a delegation from Sister Africa.
But Razak is already on the line from Monga. I'll come back to you on that, Chairman. Razak.
Yeah, Robin.
Yes, sir.
Good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Welcome to our chairman. Yes. That's from Bola Atlantic. You see, sometimes, I mean, if I need to ask myself, why the government come out and tell the EC that they should do their work? Because I'm always looking at this assembly election. Look at the way the election has gone. And nobody in this country talk about it. It's not even the government to insist why they should even act of the ECU, why that election. What happened and they are going to pieces. Today, these people, you heard them, they are doing this. And then you see, a lot of difference, which is not good. So, no people should get up. Look, the ECU, for me, in particular, I don't believe them. With the government, what they are going through with this thing. If the policy is going to, let's come out. Tell them, what you people are going to do is, if the money is not reaching them, they should bring it out. The money is not enough to them. It's better than what they are going to, look at it. Don't bring anything from this. I wanted to advise, the EC, this is what the name of it. In fact, you should be careful because it's now going to pension. You should make the name who, with what is going to. Thank you very much.
He will take it on advisement. Latif from Bola. Latif, you're online.
Yeah, good evening, Mr. Yobe, and good evening to the dynamic national chairman. I say good morning, and then thank you the human job that you are doing. Mr. Yobe, personal recommendation to you. I'm very, very happy with the maturity that you are showing, not wasting the airwaves of multitude of joy. I'm very grateful with the efforts that you are doing to educate Ghanaians. Now, to the question I have. I want to find out from something. Can ECU work as independent or as institution manner political parties? I want to know on that one. If no, then they have to take a serious look at what they are doing. Second question is, did they take note to correct themselves, and then to also find out from the various regions and various communities about the thought election that they did on the assembly election, and what what kind of cost are they caused to them, or maybe to the various communities, because we have so many, like the national chairman did mention something that touches my heart a lot. Look, let me use the assembly election for example. When we were doing the thought, assuming that we are doing in the area that I'm speaking from today, you see other people who mobilize, ride motorbikes to this area just to come and support a particular candidate. And then when this area finishes, and then the next day is another area, you see this area also get up and mobilize, and then go to that area and support. And that can cause a lot of mayhem. For example, assuming that a voter regime is going to do today, and the Ashanti regime is going to be next week, I tell you that people from supporters from MPP will not travel voter regime to go and support the supporters from that area to be able to get people and mobilize people to register on this thing. And what do you think it will lead us to? Please, let me ask a question. Nigeria and Ghana, one of the countries has a lot of population. Let us be honest. They use 2 weeks to be able to register the entire 100 and something million people in Nigeria, and then we only have only 24 or 26 currently that will use 2 weeks and want to use short.
I think you made your point. Let's take Joy from Kumasi. You made a very good point. George.
Hello.
Yes, go ahead, sir. George.
Good evening, sir.
Yes, sir.
Good evening to Chairman too.
Good evening.
Please, I'm speaking from Kumasi.
Yeah.
And I think the NDC government is trying to connive with EC to rig elections. So I want the chairman and the entire NDP party to work very, very hard to avoid any embarrassment when the government went to do well. So please, let the chairman work hard to stop them from rigging the elections. Thank you.
It's a pleasure. Chairman.
Yep. Let me assure MPP supporters, all Ghanaians, that the MPP will do its utmost and work very, very hard to ensure that the elections that come out are a reflection of the true wishes of the people. We will not allow anybody to steal the elections. We will not allow anybody to use violence to thieve our birthright. We will do, as we said before, all die be die. Okay, we will not allow you to beat us to take away what we have. We will defend the right of our people to vote freely and to have that vote properly counted and properly declared. But having said that, let me say that this thing that someone was saying that we are desperate for power. Had we been desperate for power, we would not have surrendered power on 30,000 votes difference out of 9 million voters at the end of the 2008 elections.
Interesting.
Many other countries all over the world, a margin like that is an automatic recount. 30,000 out of 9 million is automatically goes into a full recount. And a full recount, things could have happened that have happened in other African countries. If our thing was desperate, then those things would have happened, and then we would have turned around and then it would have been declared that no, in fact MPP had won by 20,000, not lost by 30,000. We were not desperate for power. Okay? We want to present to the people of Ghana a choice. And the choice is that this is how we would govern our country if we are given a mandate to so do. Look at how the other people will do it. And we really do believe that God was good to us, and that we recognize that what we did was correct, that in surrendering power with only 30,000 votes as a difference out of 9 million voters, to be able to strengthen the democracy and keep the peace of Ghana going. Okay, that by doing that, Nana Addo Akufo-Addo really showed maturity and showed his love for his people and for his country. And that God then gave it to NDC. NDC came, and in the 2.5 years or almost 3 years, including this year of action when there has been no action, only words and turning over gravel and saying that we have now cut the sod. Okay, this time has been used to expose the NDC completely, as people, the government of the Mills Mahama government has been a government of no ideas, no vision, no direction, no programs. Inshallah, now if we in the MPP do our work properly, if our grassroots people man the balustrades properly, man the polling stations and work vigorously and make sure that nobody comes around and plays a buffoon, then inshallah we shall be declared Nana will be the next president with a good majority in parliament, and we can get back to moving this country forward again.
Wonderful. We were only shunted out of power because we needed to prepare to come back to power. This is what the chairman is saying, and inshallah in 2012 we'll be back. Now this one says the MPP's victory in 2012 does not only lie in biometric registration but by guarding against intimidation. This is Aka from Sefi Kunkunso. Credible elections should be free from fear and irregularities. Professor Mills became president peacefully. He should leave Ghana peacefully. Eliasu. This is Brian from Ejisu Bisiansi. If NDC accepts the biometric or not, MPP will win 2012 election. Verma Yao Philip from German North in Sampa. I now know what the biometric registration stands for. Thanks, Utanka. That's Agama from Swedro. Honorable National Chairman of the only unique political party in Ghana, that's MPP. I like you. From Majid Isahaku Poros in Damongo. Hi Jake, it's been a long time. I like the way you are explaining things. Now, one thing I know is that come 2012, God will surely bring MPP back to power. That's my MSc in Cape Coast. Biometric voting is good. Please, what about the villages? I think Ghanaians may need much education from Tua in Goso. Ghanaians are aware that the MPP are doing all that they can to bring disputes to the nation. This is Mumin Abbas in Wa. The EC must ensure that we have credible register and stop the underhand dealings with the government. That's Adama Amadou from Wa. Mr. Jake, whether biometric or the manual system, surely NDC would laugh at the wrong side of their mouth come 2012. Mr. Remember from Wulensi. Well, I believe the national chairman has said it all. It's a national matter. If we are going to consolidate democracy, then all of us working through our political parties must demand and ask of the EC to dialogue and bring out a cost-effective useful system which can deliver a holistic election that is violence-free, fair, and will reflect the true wishes of the people. And in that case, minority caucus, which is about you, would have been useful in the election. Good night.